This is section 5.5, multiplying polynomials. We are going to be using property number 1 from section 5.1 a whole lot. We're going to be multiplying things with the same base, so we're going to have to add their exponents. Now what we're going to find a lot is we're going to do all the multiplication, and then we're going to have to simplify by combining like terms. So we're going to be doing what we did in 5.3. It's important that you recognize that the exponents will change when you're doing multiplication, but your exponents will not change with addition and subtraction. So it's two separate steps here, okay? So let's look at this first one. This is something we might have done in section 5.1. What we want to do is we want to multiply these together, and we multiply the numbers in front. Because it's all multiplication, we can rearrange it however we want to. So I have 4 times negative 5, which is going to give me negative 20. And then I have p squared times p to the 4th. We add those exponents and we get p to the 6th. Now there's nothing to combine here. This is our answer. This is a simple one. Okay? Now if we look at our next one, and you were to ask, if I took away that a to the 4th and asked you what to do, you would tell me to distribute the negative 3. Well, that's exactly what we're going to do with this entire term. We're going to take 3a to the 4th and we're going to distribute it through here. It's exactly the same. Okay, so I do the negative 3 times 4, which is going to be negative 12. And there's no a here to multiply it with, so we just carry over the a to the 4th. Okay, now we're going to multiply negative 3a to the 4th times negative 1a. Negative 3 times negative 1 is going to be positive 3. A to the 4th times a, remember this a has an understood power of 1. So this is 4 plus 1, which is 5. So it's 3a to the 5th. Now, this is not in the proper order. We want our largest exponent first. So I'm just going to rearrange this to 3a to the 5th minus 12a to the 4th. And this is the best answer. Okay? So let's try this with a bigger problem. I want to distribute the 5r cubed. So first, we're going to take the 5r cubed and multiply it by 2r squared. Okay, that's going to give me 2 times 5 is 10. R cubed times r squared, add those exponents, you're going to get r to the 5th. Okay, now take the 5r cubed and distribute it to this minus 3r. 5 times negative 3 is negative 15. R cubed times r with that understood 1 exponent gives me r to the 5th. And then I just have that last distribution, and there's no variable here, so I'm just multiplying the numbers really and carrying over the r cubed. 5 times negative 4 will be negative 20, and you have the r cubed. Okay, I wrote something wrong here. That should be a 4, shouldn't it? Yes, that's a 4. Sorry about that. Okay, one thing is if your polynomial is in order in here and you're doing just a monomial distribution, you'll see what I mean about that in a second, then your exponents will likely go down in order here. If you look here, this polynomial here, this binomial was not written in the right order. So when we distributed, it was still not in the right order and we had to switch it. So if you had wanted to switch this into the right order here, you would not have needed to make this switch here. Okay. So now let's look at this problem. We have a binomial times a trinomial. You may have learned what they call the box method. Okay, that works. If that's what you want to do, by all means, continue doing it. You may call this FOIL. FOIL is a little bit different, but it's still the same idea. But really, you don't need to think about these as separate problems. All these problems are distribution problems. What we're going to do is we're going to take the first term, whatever it is, and we're going to distribute it through the second polynomial. So I'm going to take this 4r and multiply it all the way through. So let me do that over here. 4r times r squared is going to give me 4r cubed. 4r times 3r is going to give me plus 12r squared. And then I take 4r times 5, which is going to give me 20r 4r. Okay? Now all I've done right now is I've distributed the 4r. Now I'm going to take this negative 2 and I'm going to distribute it as well. Okay? So I take this negative 2 r squared. You can see that I'm going to have repeated, I'm going to have an r squared here and an r squared here, so I'm going to need to combine like terms. This is a great spot to set up a vertical addition if you want to. I can keep listing them off here, but I'm going to line up my like terms. Negative 2 times r squared is negative 2r squared. Negative 2 times 3r is going to be minus 6r. And then I have minus 2 times 5, which is minus 10. I have nothing lined up with these two, so I just, don't put anything with them. And now we can just add, and I'll have 4r cubed. 12 minus 2 is going to be positive 10r squared. 20 minus 6 is going to be 14r, and then I have the minus 10. And that would be my answer to that problem. Okay? So let's look here. This is what most people would call a FOIL problem. It's a binomial times a binomial. FOIL. First, outer, inner, last. Okay? You can think of this as a separate type of problem. You can use the box method on this, but it's just a distribution. It's actually easier than the one we did before. You're going to take this 5m and distribute it through here. So I get 5m times 2m is 10m squared. 5m times 6 is going to be 30m. Okay. Now distribute this negative 3 through here. Negative 3 times 2m is going to be a negative 6m. And then negative 3 times 6 is minus 18. Okay. Now if we add these together, I get 10m squared plus 24m minus 18. Okay, now, so that's your answer. But look right here. This says to multiply the first together. Well, the first thing I did was distribute. That's the answer to the first. Then do the outer ones. Well, when I distributed, I multiplied the outer ones. That's right here. And then we do the inner, which is right here. And then we do last, which is right here. We did FOIL, but we didn't think of it as anything separate. We just thought of it as a distribution. Okay. Now, this problem, the multiplication vertically written. I'll be perfectly honest, most people don't like this. And if you don't like this, you can always rewrite this as 3r minus 2 times negative r squared minus 4r plus 8 and work it the same way we did before. Now you could put this one first. You're just going to have more distribution steps. I always put the smaller polynomial, the one with the fewest terms first, but it's preference. Okay, so let's talk about how to do this vertically. You can change any vertical problem into a horizontal problem. You can change any horizontal problem into a vertical problem. It's going to feel very similar to what we did before, and actually also the multiplication you learned in elementary school. I'm going to start here with the negative 2, and I'm going to multiply here, here, and here. Negative 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. Negative 2 times negative 4r is going to be a positive 8r. Okay? And then negative 2 times negative r squared is going to give me a positive 2r squared. So all I've done is I've taken this negative 2 and multiplied through here. Now I'm going to take the 3r and multiply through here. Really, it's distribution. It's just written differently. 3r times 8 is 24r. Notice how even I had to move over a spot. That's very similar to what you learned in arithmetic. And I'm lining up my like terms. Now 3r times negative 4r is going to be negative 12r squared. And then 3r times negative r squared is going to be negative 3r cubed. Now line up your like term. Your like terms are lined up. Add them together. And we get negative 3r cubed minus 10r squared plus, that's 32r, and minus 16. And this will be your answer.